Hello everyone, my name is Robert Frere, and welcome back to another Data in the Wild episode hosted by Data Media. Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to the channel below and click the bell to turn on notifications to be the first to know every time we post a new video.
Today, I want to shed some light on a very common tool, the output data tool. And what I would like us to do today is go through some of the options that are available to create multiple files based on data that is in your data set. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through the 4 options and see the output expectation of each of the options, as well as look at some Excel considerations as well. So first, let's talk about the configuration window of the output data tool. We're all familiar with the giving a file a name and a data type. In our case, we're going to be using the Alteryx database type, and this bottom section here is going to be the meat of our video today. So we're looking at the take file and table name from field option, and right now we're looking at the append the suffix. So what you do in this case is, if you have a column that you want to segment out your values by, in our case we're going to call this customer segment is the column in our data set, and we want to create a different Alteryx database file for each of the customer segments. And in this case, it's going to append the name of the customer segment to the end of my given file name. So I'm going to go ahead and run this simple workflow. All right, and then let's look at the output that we get. So when we look at our data and we go to append, we'll see that we have the given file name, and then we have one that's called consumer, corporate, home office, and small business. Those happen to be the 4 different values available in our customer segment, and now the output has been segmented to these 4 names. So now we can go on to the second option, which is very much like the first option, but this is a prepend. So in this case, when on our drop down we go to prepend. Again, we're looking at the customer segment, and as the name says here, we would expect to see the customer segment value in front of the given file name, and in this case we should find 4 files as well. So we'll run this workflow, and as it generates the Excel files here, we can then check on our results, go from append folder to the prepend folder, and we'll see now we have the consumer name in front of our given file name, corporate, home office, and small business. So that's what the prepend does. That's different than the append, but they're very similar options. Now the next option is the change file name. In change file name, which is the 3rd option in our drop down, we're also going to select customer segment, but this time what's going to happen is we're going to see that instead of the given file name, it's going to be replaced by the value that is in the customer segment field. So as I run this workflow, it will go ahead and generate those files for me, and we can then go look at those results. So we'll go back in at our change folder, and in our change folder we'll see that we have just the customer segment names without the given file name that started us off. So that's also a useful option. Now the fourth option is just a little different in that what it will do is it will allow us to take a field in our data set and have that field be the path and file name of our output. So in this case, I created a text input and I created a file path and file name, and I appended it to my data set so that Alteryx will see one value for the new path, and it will create the output with this name final option. So I'm going to run this, and it goes ahead and appends the values to our data set and then generates our output. So then when we look at our output here, we'll see that we have our final option as our single file, which has all our information in it. Now, one of the things I want to point out here is that if you're going to be dealing with Excel files, you're going to be seeing something a little bit different than what you've seen in using other file types. In the Excel, what you're going to be seeing is that when you set this option, instead of affecting the file names, you're going to be affecting the individual tab names. So in this case, we have the change file table name option selected, and the customer segment as being the column to replace it with. And now when I run this workflow and I go look at my data, I will see that what we have here is we have a single file, just as I originally selected, but that this file has now 4 tabs, 1 tab for every one of the customer segment values. So with Excel, you're dealing with the tab names, not the file names. But some people still want to be able to create 4 separate Excel files in this particular situation. So one option that we have for that is to use the table tool and the render tool from our reporting tab. And in the table tool, you simply select all the columns you want to include in your output. And then in your render tool, you want to make sure that you select the group data into separate reports option, give it the column name that you want to group by, and then this is a key here, is I made this 22 by 20 page size, and that's important because if you make it too small for the number of columns, you will end up truncating the values that you find in your Excel output. So make sure your report size is wide enough to fit in all your values, and then go ahead and run this. And when we run this, we will find that it will generate not one file with 4 tabs, but as we can see from our results window, it will actually create 4 separate Excel files, one for each of the customer segments. So I hope that you find this look at the output data options to be helpful, and have a nice day.
If you have any questions or suggestions for future videos, please comment below. And don't forget to subscribe to know when future videos are posted.